This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Well, guys, let's do this. It's time for Saturday night's main event preview and predictions, emails, and the like. So we've got a lot to cover today, maybe a voicemail or two, and it's a big night tomorrow night. As we all know, John Cena competes for the final time in his career in the ring against Gunther, and a lot of speculation as to whether or not it's truly his final match. Is The Rock going to show up? It's a big ploy. He's going to go to WrestleMania. Unlikely. I'll give you that right off the bat. I don't think that's likely, not impossible, but very unlikely. But it also is possible we have some big returns. Saturday night's main event is not exactly one that usually warrants big returns because it's kind of a baby version of an actual PLE, and it's been very just wrestling focused and not so much about big returns. And they like to save that now for ESPN's versions of the PLEs. So Saturday night's main event probably won't feature that, but I think there may be a surprise or two, and we'll talk about that. Now, let's get into my predictions, and then we'll do the emails and voicemails. That way, it's easier for me to respond because then we can compare my predictions to yours. And again, if you want to join us on Patreon and go ad free, patreon.com/WWE Podcast is where you go if you want to join us there, especially during this really crazy time. I mean, when we realize what we've just seen is done with John Cena, I think it's going to take a while to set in. This is it. This is truly it. And I don't think there is a big angle of The Rock because, also that would, to me, I think really devalue what Saturday night's main event this go around means, because how many people bought these tickets assuming it's John Cena's final match? And then if it's really not, that's just false advertising in a way that's not good. I mean, you can trick people into something bigger and better. And, most of the time people will be okay with it. But if you're going to sell tickets, and a lot of them based on the fact that John Cena's final match is going to happen in front of you, and it really didn't happen that way, that's not good business. So I don't think The Rock's going to show up. I don't think it's going to be a big swerve where John Cena continues to WrestleMania. I don't think that's the case. So, all right, let's go. Let's talk about it. Let's start with Sol Ruca versus Bayley. Now, this match, if you don't know Sol Ruca, and many of us, if you're just watching the main roster, probably look at this and go, who? I'm sorry, who the hell is this? Who is she? I've never heard of her in my life. And I'll admit I haven't seen much of her work either, but she is very good in the ring. Obviously, WWE has confidence in her, putting her in the ring against Bayley. Bayley can make anybody look good. She's as good as it gets when it comes to ring psychology, when it comes to just being able to lead a match. She is a great opponent for Sol Ruca. So this should be fun. And there are predictions out there, and I really can't speak too much to it because I haven't been watching enough of them to know, but people are predicting that Bayley wins because Zarya is going to turn on Ruca. And I mean, I can't speak intelligently on that because I don't know the relationship between Ruca and Zarya enough to know if that's plausible, but I guess I'll maybe jump on the bandwagon. Either way, I would say, Bayley could win here, but this is, according to John Cena, about the future of the company. He's trying to make it not about himself, but about the future of the company. And I mean, you would think that if that's the message, you would want Ruca to beat Bayley because she's the newer talent. But even in a loss, she could make herself look good. As we all know, losing in pro wrestling doesn't mean you've really lost. If you are elevated in the loss, it's not really a loss per se. So I'm going to go, just because this is more fun against people, I'm going to go with Ruca beating Bayley and not Zarya turning on her. Because Also, I don't think people know enough about, generally, not just me, but I think the general viewing audience that doesn't watch NXT, who doesn't know who these women are, if you see a turn, you're going to go, okay. I think if you have them on television, in front of the main audience longer, and you're able to give them some kind of relationship and understand why they're together and set up for a turn, I think that would make more sense. Even though there are people, obviously, that watch NXT, the casual viewer doesn't. So I think if you want more of a reaction to the turn, you want these two to be more established. And this is their biggest PLE to date, biggest match because of the platform. So you're going to have Sol Ruca, I think, beat Bayley. No turn by Zarya. All right. Next, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee take on Leon Slater and Javon Evans. This match, it could lead to a title change. I don't think so in this case, though, because AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, not AJ Lee, have some nice chemistry. They're really good as tag team champions. This is about just giving the newcomers here, so to speak, Leon Slater and Javon Evans, some kind of exposure. It's about giving them exposure in front of a larger audience on a bigger stage. That's what this is about. It's about showcasing what they can do. And what better opponents could they possibly have than AJ Styles and Dragon Lee to do that? This is going to be one of those high-flying, suicide dive, reversal, super kick city type of matchups, which has its downsides, but this is going to embody the 2025 This Is Awesome match. For better or worse, how people define great matches these days is this type of match, these types of wrestlers. So I don't particularly agree with that, the way that the wrestling is perceived today, or the way they're presented today. Different conversation, of course. But this is about Javon Evans and Leon Slater getting exposure, having a really fun match with AJ and Dragon Lee. They nearly win, but they don't. I think AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, it's tough when you have an AJ Lee and you have an AJ Styles, but there's also AJ Styles and Dragon Lee together. So that's why I'm continually saying AJ Lee. But these two, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, I think are not ready to drop the belts. But it's going to be a fun match. This is awesome chance, probably 15 minutes, and they retain. Alrighty, we're getting close here now. Cody Rhodes versus Obafemi. This one seems pretty straightforward to me. No titles on the line. There's not a lot of build for this match. It's an exhibition, which leans me to believe that Cody Rhodes is going to lose to Obafemi. But moreover than that, you have the wild card of Drew McIntyre floating out there, who is continually just in the side, being a thorn in the side of Cody Rhodes. He's obviously not done with Cody. These two are going to have some kind of blow off at the next big PLE. I think you're going to have Obafemi win, whether it's with Drew McIntyre there or not. And Cody Rhodes loses, and he actually should lose. Again, it gives Obafemi the biggest win of his career. He can claim a victory over the WWE Undisputed Champion. Drew McIntyre can continue his program to a blow off with Cody for the title. And you have Cody Rhodes again showing what he can do. I mean, there's not really much for Cody to prove here. It's all on Obafemi. This is all the money is on, or all the pressure is on Obafemi. It's not on Cody here to have a great match. And that's why I think it's going to be 17 minutes, 18 minutes. I mean, this could go a little while. I mean, Obafemi, if you haven't seen his work, I mean, he's more than capable of having a longer match. And obviously we know what Cody's capable of. So this is going to be about helping Obafemi get exposure, like all the other young talent that's on this show. It's about getting exposure. Even if they don't win, they'll still hopefully come out in a way, kind of a moral victory, and gives them exposure in front of a larger audience, as I've said. So Obafemi wins because it doesn't really matter, and then it also helps Drew get some more heat. So pretty straightforward there. Not really even close for me. I mean, if Cody wins, why? Like, what does that do for anyone? Even in a hard-fought victory, even if Obafemi puts up a really good fight, he kicks out of the crossroads like pretty much everybody does all the time. it's not going to do anything. Obafemi needs to win this, even if it's by hook or crook, he needs to win. Okay. Then we get to the main event, and I understand that this is going to open the show, which I think is a very poor choice. It's just a stupid, horrible choice, because John Cena's saying, "Oh, well, I'll bow out. I want to go first." Why? It's some kind of like false sense of a selfless act. It's like, no, I'm going to step aside, even though this is my last match. Dude, no, that actually is annoying to fans. Like, I don't admire that. I don't think fans admire that. We came to watch you, and especially as the fans who are there, want to watch you in the main event. We're willing to wait till the main event. It makes it feel more special. When you're going first, again, it feels very much like a phony, selfless act that doesn't really help the other talent, because just where they're positioned on that show isn't going to help them any more than it would if they were first or second or third on the show. Like, it doesn't do anything. So this is a false, in my mind, just a completely false, selfless act. I don't buy it. It's fake. I understand. I mean, there's a lot I could say about John Cena, a lot of positive things. This is one that I think is completely just, and if it was truly John's decision to go on first and it was his idea, it's just so phony. I don't like it either. It's annoying as a fan, especially if I was there in person, but even at home, like, no, like, I want to watch you in the main event. Now I don't really care that much about the rest of the show. I care less because we're watching one of the greatest of all time compete for the final time. It by law should be the main event. I don't care about your selfless acts that are phony. I don't care about your some kind of self-righteous action you're taking here. Just go on last. It needs to be last. That's what this needs to be. If you're all about being selfless in your final year, you would have exclusively worked with younger talent and helped them get over. And there was a little bit of that, but a lot of it was just nostalgia acts, which is fine. I mean, you want to see the greatest hits, but I think I've said my piece on it. So who wins? I think Gunther wins. And I think this is going to be a 20-minute, maybe 25-minute, really as long as they want to freaking go, matchup that, yes, you're going to see kickouts of finishes, as we always do. I mean, the AA is about as effective as the Crossroads, although it looks a hell of a lot better. Gunther's going to kick out. There's going to be kickouts of power bombs. John Cena is going to do everything he can to try to win. Gunther will eventually get him to, I don't think tap, but pass out. John Cena will not tap out here. I know that's Gunther's plan, is to ruin John Cena and make him do the one thing he never did during his entire career. But I think it's going to be a pass out situation, not a tap out situation. So it'll look like John Cena is going to tap. He's going to tap. Maybe he will power bomb, lock it back in, power bomb. It's going to be like pretty physical, obviously, towards the end. And we're going to see a pass out of John Cena in the ring after a lengthy chokehold. That's how I imagine this going. That way, John Cena saves face. Gunther gets the legitimate victory. He can claim he beat John Cena in his retirement match. I don't want to hear... as good as Gunther is, and as much as I admire him, and he is truly a throwback and one of the few that he's like a man sent back from time, to wrestle in 2025 when he looks like he's from 1938, and that's a compliment. I don't want to hear him claim that he retired John Cena. I don't want to hear that's not because that's not true. That's not true. And if we hear that, it's like when you hear every year that the Royal Rumble winner beat 29 other men. No, they didn't. Especially if they came in, 28, number 28, 29, 30. No, you didn't. You might have had a couple of eliminations. You can claim that you beat those men you eliminated, but to say that you obviously beat 29 other men is a wild overstatement. In the same vein, if Gunther claims that he retired John Cena, that's just false. Because John Cena claimed a year ahead of time that, hey, I'm going to retire in December of 2025. That'll be my final match. So I'm retiring, win, lose, or draw. So the outcome of the match has nothing to do on whether or not John Cena retires. Therefore, John Cena and Gunther rather cannot claim he retired John, because he didn't. He beat him in his retirement match, but he didn't actually retire him and force him to retire. So there's quite a difference there. The distinction is very, very sharp here. So I hope that Gunther doesn't start claiming that. Now, the wild cards. I've given you the finish. I've given you the winner. I've given you why I think that Gunther will win. And also it's very traditional to have the loser who is leaving the company or retiring to do the honors. It's very time-honored tradition in pro wrestling. Not that TKO gives a damn about actual pro wrestling and its sanctity and its mystique and all the rest with the way they've treated pro wrestling and really defiled the wrestling ring itself with advertisements, all at the expense of the bottom line. The way that they've created the Unreal segments and show that I know some people love, but it is a complete desecration of pro wrestling and what it makes it fun and special and all the rest. So it's not that they care about that, but I think if John were to go out and win, why? I mean, Gunther could claim that he beat John in his final match. That's something that's a pretty big thing to say on your resume. It would continue to build Gunther. If he's all about helping build the future, well, why would you win if you're leaving forever after this? So it really makes absolutely no sense for John Cena to win. It'd be a feel-good moment, but it would do more damage than good. So there's that. But the wild cards beyond that, are there returns? Do I think The Rock's going to return? As I've said, no. Is it in our universe of possibilities? Sure. Just as much as it is Eddie Guerrero coming back to attack Gunther, right? I really think it's that unlikely. So I don't think The Rock's going to be there. Does that mean we see Chris Jericho? Does that mean we see Edge? In my still my fantasy world of Edge returning to actually make this a triple threat, I don't think so. It would be fun, but here's the thing: if Chris Jericho or Edge return, and they return at the end to celebrate with John Cena, or just in kind of like one of those in-ring, all hands on deck, everyone in the ring to celebrate type of moments, like when Cody won at WrestleMania 40. If I see Edge or Chris Jericho at the end of that and they come out, I'm going to be really pissed off, and you should too, because why would you be here if you weren't going to wrestle? Like, no disrespect to Gunther, but hey, John Cena and Edge, especially if Edge is there, is a much bigger marquee match than if John Cena and even Chris Jericho were to face off. If you're here, why aren't you wrestling? It's just like, here's what you could have had, but we're just going to have him come out and just give, John Cena a pat on the back. No, right? So if Edge doesn't come out to make this a triple threat, I don't want to see him at all. Do I think that's likely? No, I don't. Based on the way things have been going, as much as I want to see it, I doubt it. I'd give it like a 3% chance of it happening. Chris Jericho returning, I'd be less angry if he showed up at the end, but it is still possible. I'd give him like a 10% chance based on how I'm feeling and what I'm seeing on online and the reports and everything else. I think Chris Jericho is more likely for a Royal Rumble return. That fits much more than just being thrown in at the end of this Gunther-John Cena matchup. It's kind of weird. So I think Jericho, if he returns, is going to be in the 2026 Royal Rumble in Saudi. So that's how I feel. Overall, I think that's kind of how things are going to go. Again, to recap, Gunther wins. I have AJ Styles and Dragon Lee retaining the tag titles, Obafemi beating Cody Rhodes, and Sol Ruka defeating Bayley. That's my thoughts. Let's get it from you guys. Let's go to Shane. Shane, what does he got to say? Not Shane McMahon, but a different Shane, says, "Thanks for the humorous responses on Larry. It gave me a good chuckle." I'm glad you found it humorous. Yes, I think the heat has worn off on my comments regarding Larry, so I'll just leave it there. Okay, on to a couple things. I'll point this out. This is coming from someone who loved The Rock when I was a kid. Absolutely loved him. Tell me what you think in regards to the Cena heel turn and what was supposed to happen. I cringed at Cena's response on Chris Van Vliet. Essentially, he said, "I'm not going to say what I really think because I've got no balls. Cena avoided the question like a politician. We know that he doesn't want to talk ill of his boss, Dwayne. And of course, The Rock's power, not just in WWE, but Hollywood, where Cena relies on both. The annoying thing is, what's slightly annoying, The Rock really, I'm not sure what you mean here. I think the sentence is a little bit misworded, but I couldn't see it hurting him in the slightest if he just said, yep, Dwayne decided against it. He had other commitments. Now, I'm pretty sure I've gathered what happened here. The board, including The Rock, sat together and voiced an awesome plan where Cena turned heel, aligned himself with The Rock, and possibly Travis Scott. Never want to hear that name again. The Rock probably looked like Mr. Big Shot calling out an awesome storyline. I think this would have been genuinely awesome. Also making WrestleMania 41 kind of a sequel to 40 in that Cena turns sides. The Rock costs Cody and Cena wins. It also ties back to The Rock pinning Cody in night 1 in the tag match at WrestleMania 40. Okay, so I'll pause there. The Rock, yeah, this is, as you said, I don't think that he has no balls. I think he is being the flag bearer for the company. He is avoiding the question. He's telling us who cares, meaning stop asking because it didn't happen. But that's like most of the fun of pro wrestling is possible like scenarios and situations that could occur and what could be. And that's like most of the fun of pro wrestling, fantasy booking. And this isn't even, it wasn't a fantasy, like it was happening. And then you guys fumbled it horribly at the goal line. I mean, it was just a horrific fumble. One of the worst I've ever seen. So, I mean, it was a non-answer, a very political, stoic, calculated John Cena. I hate his interviews. I'm not putting this at the Chris Van Vliet's feet. Say that 5 times fast. I'm not putting this on Chris. Chris did what he did. He asked the question and he pressed it a little, and then John just, as always, kind of shoves it away. Like we had what he would like to say. I think you're right. He would say, "Yeah, we had something awesome. I wish it could have happened this way. Obviously things fell apart, and you got what you got. Which, yes, it sucked, but instead he goes off on this. Who cares? It didn't happen, so let's stop talking about it." Oh, okay. Well, then, no problem, John. You got it. I'm convinced. Like, there's no worse way to tell somebody to stop talking about something than telling them they shouldn't care. That is as horrible as it gets, but he gave a political, stoic, corporate answer, and he is now the spokesperson, the flag bearer of WWE. He's got that contract being the ambassador, i.e. in what Titus O'Neil's role. That's who he is now. He's rah-rah TKO, rah-rah WWE. So we're going to hear a whole bunch of that. And he's just giving the answer that is the safest, most coddled, protected answer he can. Do I think he really believes that? Hell no. He knows it was a horrible botch. One of the worst in the company's history. One of the worst main events in WWE history of WrestleMania anyway. Just a horrible, an excellent, top-notch, never forget moment of heel turn. But then you fumbled it by no follow-up, and The Rock not being there was just horrific. Then you bring in some bum like Travis Scott, who has nothing to do with pro wrestling and looks like my grandma could have kicked his ass. Hell no. And he struts to the ring with this champion. Like, what a bum. Ugh. Even just imagining it in my mind again, like it was horrible. Okay, so continuing. Now, I'm sure The Rock had good intentions to face Cody and hopefully put him over, but instead, The Rock wanted to impress everyone, agree to all this stuff while in the back of his mind thinking, this is a lot of commitment. He then clearly backtracks on this idea, bows out, having other priorities outside of WWE. I think you did hit the nail on the head if you were able to get in The Rock's mind, which of course none of us are able to, but just prognosticating and imagining what probably was there. Yeah, he's probably like, I'm not in this. There were obviously tensions between Triple H and The Rock that, if you remember, that was being reported, and I do believe differences in creative ideas, and they just decided, okay, The Rock's like, screw it, then I'm out. And that's exactly, I think, what happened is, screw it, I'm out. I've got other things I could do. And that's clearly what happened, because he just vanished like a ghost. Remember, guys, the last time we saw The Rock was after and when John Cena turned heel in February at the Elimination Chamber. That's the last time. Can you believe there's no follow-up? Like, if we had said in a year's time that after what we saw at the Elimination Chamber, if we had told you this like the next day, you're not going to see The Rock again. Like, it's like you won't see The Rock again. It's going to be a year and you won't see him. You would have been like, what? How can they not follow up on this? How can there be no follow-up at all? No reasoning, no understanding. No, what? Why did John Cena and The Rock do what they did? Well, we're never going to answer that. You would not believe me. We cannot allow WWE to get away with what they did. It was horrible, horrible storytelling, almost comically bad. So now what annoys me, back to the email, let's see here, is more so why put the spotlight on yourself if you're not going to follow through with anything? Yeah, you're The Rock, but what about someone like Cody? This entire thing was kind of done for him, and it just makes it all seem anticlimactic. Well, you got that right. Clearly, on The Rock's personal list of priorities, I'm sure being a movie star is number one. His tequila brand is number two. Being a dad is third. Yikes. Ouch. And all of his production company and energy drink stuff and the XFL, blah, 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 and so on. Let's put the WWE title at like 13th in the list of Rock's priorities. It's just obvious he doesn't really care about it. He says he does, but really at the end of the day, you wouldn't be who you are without pro wrestling. I don't see why he couldn't just take 6 months off, go on a run, see it out, and then leave for another 5 years. It's a bit insulting to me as a fan. And like I said, I love The Rock. He just doesn't give us much back as fans. It's a bit of a kick in the nuts when you look at it properly. It is. It's insulting. And again, I'm not offended personally. Just as a fan, it's disrespectful to start a story, leave, and then basically blame this on the fans. Essentially, be like, oh, well, the spotlight wasn't supposed to be about me. Well, shut up. You know you're The Rock. You're the biggest star in the world, literally. When you come in, it's going to be focused around you and whoever you're associating with. Don't try to sell us on something else that's clear. Like, you're lying to us, and we all know you're lying. Like, it's very clear. Don't try to tell me the sky is green, right? Like, it's insulting as a fan, from a fan perspective. Again, not personally, but this is something like The Rock he needs to follow through. Like, if you have a story to tell it. Don't just dip your toe in and leave. Follow through. Go. I mean, I don't even expect him to be there consistently. If he wants to tell a story, I don't need him on TV every week for 6 months. But at least be there somewhat consistently where it makes sense that you're there. Your appearances mean something, but don't just fall off the face of the earth. That's just, I can't believe that even happened. So, let's see here. Clearly, Cena was just the yes man, and that's not a bad thing. But someone like The Rock that says they love pro wrestling, they should make it both work. Cena is nowhere near as lame as The Rock in this scenario, but yeah, just looks like a yes man. I'm a fan of Cody. Always have been since the Legacy days. I know you're not, but everyone will have a different opinion. Doesn't matter what your opinion is, though. This was all leading to trying to make another person a big star as possible, and The Rock essentially shat on that idea. Sorry, a bit of a rant. I just feel like The Rock seems like a bit of a D-bag. I feel like he's only in it for one person. Well, look, at that level, you have an ego, whether you want to admit it or not publicly. Of course he does. He can pretend he doesn't. He can act like Mr. Cool, that I'm just a relatable dude. He has an ego. He just has learned to kind of control it and hide it as best he can and mask it. So, yeah, sure he does. He's got a massive ego. So does, I'm not blaming him for that. Everyone on this earth does to some degree. Obviously, some bigger than others. Some hide it better than others. The Rock is a professional at hiding it. But I don't hate Cody. I'm not a fan of his babyface character. I respect his work in ring. He's incredible on the microphone at times. He's got it all. I don't buy his little pocket watch suit wearing persona that is just too clean and good and nice for me. I don't like it. I've been complaining about that for years, but I don't think he's the wrong guy to be holding the championship, although Drew McIntyre makes a hell of a case. So, okay. P.S. As an extra question, you said you don't see Cena as the GOAT. Who is your GOAT? I recall you love Austin. Like I've said, my favorite of all time is Randy Orton. But in saying that, if someone asks me who the GOAT is, I genuinely believe it's The Undertaker. As to me, he checks the most boxes. But like you said, all respectable choices. Taker, Austin, Rock, Cena, Sin Cara are clearly the GOATs. Yeah, Sin Cara. Thanks, Shane. My GOAT, it's Austin for me. And you might ask, well, why? Well, because he transformed the business. There were some other awesome, like, talent. Like, you have The Undertaker, of course. He outlasted pretty much everybody. Hell of a career, never to be duplicated again. Probably one of the best gimmicks of all time. Very good in the ring for his size. Promos were always on point. His ability to adapt and change over the years with his gimmicks, from the dead man to the American Badass, back to the dead man to some kind of hybrid. Like, he was always able to do that. Didn't really get injured that much. He was a durable, reliable guy. Yes, Taker is one of the GOATs. The reason I say Austin, even though when you think about it, Austin was only on top of the company for 3 years, from like 98 to 2001. And then after that, things kind of fell apart. The what stuff started. He got injured. He had an injury, but then he left, took his ball and went home, and that whole debacle. But by 2002, things were kind of transforming to Brock Lesnar. So Austin was only on top for 3 years. Taker was in the main event for the better part of 30 years. Of course, you had John Cena, 25 years. Like, some of these people lasted multiple decades. Austin lasted just a few years. He retired at the age of 38? And you have guys coming out of retirement at 50 something. So the reason I say he's the GOAT, for me, again, he transformed the business. He was during a time when wrestling was, in terms of ratings, the highest it's ever been, ever, to this day. He was a part of the highest and responsible, not solely, but a big chunk of it was because of him. He was super authentic. You believed in what he was saying. His work, you couldn't see through it, meaning like sometimes you can see how phony the punches look and all that. He looked and played the part so well. His promos, for the most part, were intense and well thought out, but also kind of true to the gimmick. He was a representation of the anti-culture at the time, of the rebellious teenagers that supported him. He had one of the best finishes of all time. I think the best finish of all time. And he had, I think, the most impact on the business out of anyone, singularly. Now, you can't wrestle yourself. I understand that. But he burned hotter than anyone. He didn't last as long. Like, his flame went out much, much quicker than a lot of other guys at the top, like Triple H, like Rock, as I said, Taker, Kane. But he burned the hottest. There is no one who was more popular and hotter in wrestling than Austin. I would say he was bigger than Hogan. And again, Hulkamania was a revolution. But for the time he was there, I'd say he was hotter than Hogan was even at his prime. People forget how big of a deal and how hot Stone Cold Steve Austin was. Like, there is no one who will ever, I think, match that again. Never. I mean, he was mainstream. He was, look at the reactions that he got whenever he came out. Unbelievable. Still gets when he comes out and makes his occasional appearance. And there's rumors now of him potentially wrestling next year at WrestleMania 43 in Saudi, because, Saudi has no limits to how much they'll pay to bring people out. And I think they're going to give Austin a check he can't refuse. So while I don't think Austin's going to wrestle this year, there's a very good chance, even though he'll be well into his 50s, that you'll see Stone Cold wrestle next year, because that Saudi money is just too much to turn down. All right. Shane, so much to talk about. Thank you. All right. Let's go to DJ. And DJ says, it was 2 weeks ago I emailed my War Games predictions, and now there's another event this Saturday in Washington, D.C. for Saturday night's main event. I want to mention 3 points. Number one, Bron Breakker really looks like the guy that could potentially win the Royal Rumble. I like his chances in not only winning it, but in potentially winning the World Championship from Punk at next year's WrestleMania 42. Bron's promo last week in Glendale, Arizona was, and in Kansas City on both Raws was really good. Since Seth's knee injury, or shoulder injury, Breakker really has come into his own of being the front and centerpiece of the vision. 2026 could definitely be the year that Breakker lives up to his prophecy that Paul Heyman mentioned about him 2 years ago on an episode of NXT about viewing a future WrestleMania main eventer, which is true. I mean, again, that's a hell of a lot of pressure to put on somebody right off the bat. But so far, he's on that path. I agree. Number 2. It seems to me that the two mysterious people in the hoodies are not affiliated with the Vision, since they did not align with the Vision. Plus, I like the reveal that has not happened yet. I think the mysterious person on Raw is Montez Ford, since we haven't seen the Street Profits on TV in several weeks, and lots of people are speculating that... where I lost my place. Lots of people are speculating that Austin Theory is the mysterious person that appeared during War Games. My only concern is that WWE doesn't book them like the Retribution group from 2020 that was absolutely awful with no clear direction. Yeah, Retribution started off hot. Remember they came in with chainsaws? They destroyed like a power box outside or something. I mean, they were just like destroying property. And what does WWE do? They award them contracts, because that's how you award and punish. That's how you punish vandals, if you didn't know. So if you guys want a job with, say, Apple, all you got to do, if you want to work there, just go in and just, all the glass they got there, just start throwing some cinder blocks through the glass. And what they'll do, they have the manager come out and they say, hey, listen, if you stop, we'll you can work here. Just sign here. I bet you didn't know that. It's kind of a secret, a well-kept secret. You want to go work at Microsoft or Google, just go to one of their offices, and which is just start tearing up their office, throwing stuff, flip over some desks, and before you know it, like you'll have the manager come out, and the CEO even probably give you a call and offer you a position of employment, as long as you stop doing what you're doing. So it made a lot of sense. I agree. So is it Austin Theory? I mean, a lot of people still believe it is, but now that I think the internet caught on so quick, they probably switched it. And from what I understand, the company is also switching up who's under the mask to keep people guessing in terms of like the body type. People even got a shot of the eyes last week. One of the fans got a shot of the eyes. Who's under that mask could really be somebody that's different every week, just to keep the fans guessing. And maybe they do that. But it could, Montez Ford is a hell of a lot more interesting to me than Austin Theory, who's just so boring. I'm sorry, Austin Theory, he has been so boring for so long. I hope it's not him. Montez Ford, we've all been waiting for a breakout for like 5 years now. So if it's Montez Ford, wonderful. Whoever it is, I just hope that there's a reason for what they're doing. We don't just get, it's so-and-so. We don't get a reason for why it's Rey Mysterio they attacked, why CM Punk was attacked. If this is a strategic attack, I hope we get a reason as to who is doing this, or when we figure out who is, why they chose those targets. Okay, maybe it's just too much to ask with this storytelling. All right, number 3. Something is missing with Jade Cargill as champion with her heel turn. I was on board for the heel turn when it happened, but she isn't getting any reaction. Is she just a placeholder champion until Bianca returns at the Rumble? From watching Carmelo's match against Dragunov last week, the crowd continues to cheer for Melo and chant his name. When do you see Dragunov dropping the title, and could Melo be the next U.S. champion if he gets a rematch in somewhat of a triple threat with Ciampa? Well, to answer your second question first, I think Melo is going to be the next champion. Dragunov is as good as he is in the ring. He's bland to the general audience because he doesn't really talk. You don't get much from him. You know what quality of match you're going to get, but there's no substance to his character. He's just this hard-hitting dude that can wrestle his ass off, but that's kind of it. And there needs to be more. Now, same thing with Jade. She feels flat because she still has yet to follow up with any good promo. Like, we can't just hear 2 words from her. I put this on X, but it's true that I bet you the number of days she's been champion is a greater number than the number of words she has collectively said since she's been champion and turned heel. That's not a good formula. You cannot, I know she's on the right side now. To me, she's on the right team being a heel, but there's no follow-up. That's a phrase that the company really needs to kind of take to heart on a lot of levels. You've heard me say that phrase, follow-up, a lot, because you can't just do something and then not follow up with why this happened. I shouldn't be even having to explain this as the most basic element of storytelling. But if you don't follow up, and have some kind of momentum continuing with the choice you made, then fans aren't going to care. And that's what you're seeing with Jade. It's like, okay, she's bad now. Why should I hate her though? Give me reasons. I need to hear from Jade herself. See, promos, I think, talk people into buildings. I don't think necessarily matches do. And I'm not saying that the quality of matches don't matter, but to me, stars will always draw. How you make a star is primarily through promos. Yes, in-ring is important, gimmicks important, music is important, but you connect with the fans on a much deeper level when you're able to speak, use your vocal cords, and connect with them that way. And Jade has not done that. And until they do that, she is not going to get any kind of reaction. I don't care how many Instagram photos she puts up, how chiseled her abs are, how muscular she looks, whatever. She can do that until the end of time. She will not be able to connect with the crowd any more than if she were able to actually speak with them. The connection's not going to get deeper because her abs get more chiseled. That's not the equation here. Despite what she wants to believe or thinks it should be, it's not. See, we live in reality. We don't live in what we want. We live in what is. I'm speaking like John Cena now, but I hope you guys are getting my point. Not you, DJ, necessarily, but just the general thought here, the general overarching thought is that's how it works. That's how it works in wrestling. I know Jade doesn't think that because she looks more impressive physically than anyone on the roster. Doesn't matter. Then that tells you and shows you it doesn't matter. She is a perfect case of you can look like $1 million and still not connect. I mean, tell me since she's returned or really debuted in WWE a couple of years ago, right? At the Rumble. Is it 2 years ago now? Maybe even more. Is it 2 or 3? Whatever. She has yet to cut a really good promo that goes, wow, okay, I understand who she is and why. She either gets interrupted after 2 sentences because they don't trust her to speak. And at this point, I would just let her sink or swim. Maybe she is horrible on the mic and she's embarrassing, but oh well, at this point, like she's got to find a way to break out here. But there has not been one promo outside of the one line she said that I'm that, you know what? It's like, okay, cool. There's something to build on there. And they didn't. All right, your predictions. Let's get to them. Gunther beats Cena. Sol Ruka beats Bayley. Okay, we're in lockstep, DJ. Dragon Lee and AJ Styles win. Cody beats Obafemi. Interesting. But McIntyre returns and attacks Cody, setting up their 4th and final title match for the first anniversary Raw on Netflix in Brooklyn on January 5th. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I still believe Obafemi should win, though. So we're 3 for 4 on that. As always, the card is subject to change. DJ signing off. Enjoy Saturday night's main event. All right. Well, thank you, DJ. We will get to your, what is it? Oh, your Joe Hendry report. We'll get to that. I also believe we do have actually another voicemail as well. So we'll have to find out who that is. I'm trying to decode that mystery. So let's just get to DJ now, and then we'll wrap it up with another voicemail. And off we go.
This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag Show. Record you live on a Wednesday morning, and you know what time it is. It's time to
say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
That's right, folks. Joe Hendry is his name, as I take it to my 74th episode of the George Report. And like always, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. Now, before I get to Joe Hendry, I want to continue on what's going on with the NXT versus TNA collaboration, as we are still having this NXT invasion in TNA. So let's take you back to what took place last week on an episode of TNA Pro Wrestling, as we had a couple of NXT versus TNA matches. Firstly, we had Brooks Jensen of NXT versus the hometown man of TNA. This match lasted 5 minutes and 26 seconds as Brooks Jensen gets the victory for NXT. Then we had Mike Santana, the former TNA World Champion, as he took on the leader, the quote-unquote leader of the NXT Outsiders, Mr. Robert Stone. This match only lasted 30 seconds. That's right, folks, 30 seconds, as Mike Santana delivered the spin the block Discalarius to Robert Stone to get the victory. But post-match, Robert Stone is being told by Mike Santana to let the other NXT invaders know that Poppy's home. So far at this point on this episode of TNA Pro Wrestling, we had one victory for NXT and one victory for TNA. Now we fast forward to the main event, an 8-man tag team match of Team TNA, which features Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Cedric Alexander, and Steve Maclin versus Team NXT of Stacks, Lexis King, and the tag team known as High Rise of Tyson and Tyreek. This match lasted 14 minutes and 24 seconds, with Team NXT getting the victory with Stacks pinning Steve Maclin. And right now, of course, at that time, Steve Maclin was the TNA International Champion. And this was the preview as we get ready for TNA Final Resolution, which took place on Friday, December 5th, live from El Paso, Texas. I just want to mention a couple of matches of the NXT versus TNA collaboration. We had Mike Santana versus Charlie Dempsey. This match lasted 8 minutes and 56 seconds. And as we get to the tail of the match, after when we saw none other than Mike Santana deliver 3 amigos in playing homage to Eddie Guerrero, because why not? We are in El Paso, Texas. We then see Mike Santana deliver a frog splash after when he did his little Eddie Guerrero shimmy shake, followed by the spin the block disc hilarious on Charlie Dempsey, and 1, 2, 3, Mike Santana gets the victory. Now let me take you to the second TNA versus NXT match on this TNA Final Resolution card, as we had Steve Maclin of TNA versus Stacks of NXT. This was for the TNA International Championship. This match lasted 11 minutes and 38 seconds, as apparently we have a new TNA International Champion in Stacks. Shockingly, now we have a championship in the hand of an NXT star, as this NXT takeover continues in TNA. And then we get another NXT versus TNA matchup. This was for the TNA World Tag Team Championship of the Hardys of Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy versus the tag team called High Rise of Tyson and Tyreek. This match lasted 8 minutes and 43 seconds as the Hardy Boys retained, after when we saw Jeff Hardy deliver a swanton bomb to Tyson, and 1, 2, 3, the Hardy Boys continue their run as the TNA World Tag Team Champions. But we get to the main event, and something very interesting took place after the main event. By the way, this main event was for the TNA World Championship, as we had the self-proclaimed king of TNA, Mr. Frankie Kazarian, versus JDC. Yes, we did see Frankie Kazarian retain the TNA World Championship, but after the match, we get the NXT Outsiders coming to the ring and attacking all the members of the system. The system were alongside JDC as they were at ringside. Lexis King, as he was about to set the TNA logo on fire, all of a sudden, here comes Steve Maclin, Mike Santana, and the Hardy Boys to make the save, as we have a full-out brawl between NXT and TNA. But then we get the Director of Authority, Mr. Santino Marella, as he comes to try to separate these two groups, but he gets knocked out by his own son-in-law. That's right, Stacks. Stacks is Santino's son-in-law because he is connected with Ariana Grace. So Stacks knocks out Santino Marella, and that is how the show ends, with this brawl continuing between NXT versus TNA, as there's something big on the horizon for the next episode of TNA Pro Wrestling. Now let's get to Joe Hendry, as since we were in Texas for NXT Deadline in San Antonio, Joe Hendry was included in the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge match, which included Javon Evans, Joe Hendry, Miles Bourne, Dion Onyx of Dark State, and TNA's Leon Slater. This match lasted 25 minutes and was the main event, but what opened the show was the NXT Championship match of Obafemi versus Ricky Saints, and apparently we have a new NXT champion in Obafemi. Now, this will lead to who will be the #1 contender as we get to the main event, which was the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge match. We did see Joe Hendry appearing 5th in this match, as he goes automatically into the ring to deliver a follow-away slam to Miles Bourne. Then at the same time, Joe Hendry delivers a fall-away slam to both Leon Slater and Javon Evans. Joe Hendry earned only one pinfall score as he pinned Miles Bourne. And like I said last week in my prediction that Javon Evans would be the person to win the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge, that is what took place as Javon Evans scored 2 pinfall victories in this Men's Iron Survivor Challenge match to now be the #1 contender to face Obafemi for the NXT Championship, and that will be taking place in January at NXT's first PLE of the year at NXT New Year's Evil. But most importantly, folks, if you continue to say his name, he might just randomly appear. And he appeared last night on NXT. But before we get to the very brief appearance of Joe Hendry on NXT last night, I want to quickly mention 2 things. The first thing is in regards in the TNA and NXT collaboration. We will have at Saturday night's main event, this coming Saturday, live from Washington, D.C., it was announced that Javon Evans and Leon Slater will be in a non-title match in a tag team match against the WWE World Tag Team Champions in AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, aka Dragon Styles. I just want to make a quick prediction. I predict that AJ Styles and Dragon Lee will get the victory in this non-title match. But it's a great feature to see both Leon Slater from TNA and Javon Evans of NXT on this Saturday night's main event. Now, the second thing I want to mention is in regards to Joe Hendry's tag team partner, Thea Hale, as she made a in-ring appearance during the course of Blake Monroe's announcement of an open challenge for her NXT Women's North American Championship. So we had the entire women's NXT roster interrupt Blake Monroe as each of them were vying to be the one to compete for her championship. Blake tells them, one at a time, ladies, one at a time, as she screams for the NXT General Manager Ava Raine to intervene to help her out. However, from behind, we get Thea Hale as she attacks Blake Monroe and puts her in the Kimura Rock. And I guess you could say this might be a future matchup of Thea Hale versus Blake Monroe for the Women's North American Championship. Now to Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry was included in a backstage segment alongside TNA's Leon Slater, Miles Bourne, and Dark State's own Dion Lennox as they were meeting with the NXT General Manager Ava Raine. They were all bickering and vying to be the new #1 contender for the NXT Championship, since all 4 of them were tied with the 1 pinfall score during the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge from last week Saturday at NXT Deadline. Therefore, Ava Raine made the announcement that next week on NXT, there will be a fatal 4-way for the #1 contendership to earn a NXT Championship match at NXT's New Year's Evil next year. But the question remains, will there be a fatal 4-way at New Year's Evil for the NXT Championship of Obafemi, a probably newly heel turn in Ricky Saints, Javon Evans, and whoever will be that #1 contender next week? But always remember this, folks, if you continue to say their name in Thea Hale and Joe Hendry, they might just randomly appear. Always remember to believe, say his name. Always remember the words that Joe Hendry says anytime, any place, at any show. And most importantly, always remember to do this.
Wave your hands from side to side and say, oh, I believe in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry is so prestigious.
Once again, this is your guy, DJ Kuzmo. Have a blessed week. Be kind to one another. Stay safe, my friends. Believe and peace.
Well, DJ, as always, thank you for the analysis. Thank you for the catching us up in a matter of 10 minutes. What's going on in TNA and still with the Hardys wrestling. Crazy. I mean, like they're a hell of a team to celebrate as well. I mean, once they finally do retire, it should be a big deal. And I appreciate your analysis as always, Joe Hendry and everything else going on. And I'm interested to hear what you think next week after the John Cena retirement is finally official. Remind me, though, you did remind me, DJ, about this. You know, I don't know why it triggered me, but there's this idea that Brock Lesnar, and reports that Brock Lesnar is retiring next year, and there's going to be a retirement tour for him. I don't know how you feel, DJ, or really anybody. I don't care how big of a star you are. It really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if it was Austin, Rock, even back in the day. I don't need ever again a year-long goodbye tour. I don't need that. I think it's exhausting. for me, it should just be kind of like it organically comes up a few months before, hey, I'm going to retire here. Or if I can't beat you here, this is my final match. Like, instead of just making it now, the focus is on you for a year. So it's always kind of funny to me when John Cena said, it's about the future, but also I'm going to retire in a year. And now think about me all year. Do you know what I mean? Like, his words and actions don't align. I've got some deeper thoughts on John Cena post-retirement. As you can imagine, they're not all positive, despite the fact that he is undoubtedly, objectively, just one of the greatest of all time. He really is. So deeper thoughts coming on John after his retirement. But if Brock Lesnar is truly retiring next year, I like Brock as a wrestler. I think he's just outstanding. He's unbelievable. I don't need a year-long retirement of Brock Lesnar and what he's going to do and who he's going to face. I don't need that. As we've seen, this John Cena year-long experiment to me it's exhausting. The fans are, like, I understand it's fun to see him and you get to chant, thank you, Cena, but it's just it's so exhausting. It's not fun as a viewer to see this every single time he's there. Like, okay, we get it. Move on, and it's just the way it is. Again, I don't care who you are. This isn't just specific to John Cena. So, alrighty, let's get to one more voicemail and wrap up the show.
It's kind of Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about this, with Cena and Gunther for Saturday. Everyone is expecting for Gunther to win. Actually, some people think that Gunther should win. I don't think so. I think there's a chance because does Gunther really need it? What is the benefit for Gunther to win against Cena? Ultimately, he's already a main man as it is. He's still, he's presented as an unstoppable force already in the company. I think Cena has to win here. He already lost at Survivor Series. And I don't know. I feel like for the crowd who's going to be there, I think people want to see a happy ending, have Cena walk out with the win. Because I just think that's what needs to happen. I feel like Gunther doesn't really need the victory, but I don't know. Gunther could win, and what it is. I just don't know. If that's the case, what does that do for Gunther moving forward, heading into next year's WrestleMania? What's his place for WrestleMania next year? If people are expecting Brock Lesnar to show up to face him at the show, whatever, I don't know. But I guess my point is that sure, Gunther wins, whatever. Does nothing for me. I'm not a Gunther fan as it is. So, but my point is that I just think Cena may win to close out the year with him winning, and then do whatever they're going to do with Gunther and everyone else that's going to be on the show. They're going to highlight more for NXT people more heading into next year. So that's my thoughts about it. But we'll see what happens. I may be Ron and Gunther may win, but I think Cena might because of that, for what I just said. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for the call. Bye.
Kyle, hey, so if you heard my explanation earlier, I don't want to repeat myself. You make a valid point. Gunther is perceived or trying to be perceived by WWE as an unstoppable force. But remember, WrestleMania wasn't that long ago either. And what happened at WrestleMania? He lost to Jey Uso, who's now back in the tag division. WWE stripped him of the title because he wasn't working out as champion. And Gunther has essentially been injured since then. So, no, Gunther needs it more than Cena because, using that same argument with John Cena, there's absolutely no argument for John Cena needing this victory. You could at least formulate something for Gunther because Gunther still relatively young. And what better way to continue his momentum than having him beat John Cena in his retirement match? So for Cena, there's absolutely nothing. For Gunther, you can at least create something. Because, again, John Cena, you talk about a legend, there's absolutely nothing that could happen in this match that would affect John Cena's legacy at all. Nothing. So for Gunther, I think he could be damaged by this loss. There's no title on the line, but still, to say you beat John Cena in his final match, something to put on your resume. For John Cena to say he won, who cares? Win, lose, or draw, people are just emotional about his leaving active in-ring competition. So for Gunther, there's actually quite a bit more to gain than there is for John Cena, who has absolutely nothing other than a feel-good moment. But it's going to be a feel-good emotional moment no matter if he wins or loses. But for Gunther, who's going to continue on for many years, he has something to lose, and that's momentum. And that's my thought. So, all right. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for the calls, for the emails. Of course, you guys can give me your thoughts post Saturday night's main event at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. Go ad-free, patreon.com/wwepodcast, or go to our ad-free feed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you can get them. So we'll be back right after Saturday night's main event. If I can record afterwards, I will. But if not, definitely Sunday, you'll get your full review. Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.